Hello and welcome to the Life Aligned Academy, and today I'm very excited to have my first live guest on the YouTube channel. This is Candice Dick. So wonderful to have you here. You have been quite pivotal to the EQ movement, especially here in South Africa, and having a lot of background on that. So I'm so excited to have you on today for us to get to explore this interesting topic.
Thank you. Yeah, that feels a bigger deal than it really is.
It is. It's important work.
But yeah, I mean, I remember when I connected with a mentor on this, and I started exploring emotional intelligence 12, 13 years ago. And I had this like deep awareness that you would mention it to some people and they would look like you had mentioned voodoo or something. And I had friends who had been doing it 15 years ahead of me, speaking about it inside leadership training. And I was like, how did you do this that long ago when people are still scared of it? I'm pleased to say, as you well know, that most people know what it is, or it's a much more common household term now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I've certainly had a lot of fun. One of my business cards once read, teaching emotional intelligence to CEOs and 6-year-olds.
Oh, I love that.
Some people suggested the CEOs would take offense.
Sometimes they are like big babies in suits. So
totally. Sometimes they were younger than 6.
Exactly. That's giving them some credit. So wonderful to be chatting to you today. So for the viewers that maybe, like I said, everyone probably does know what emotional intelligence is. But if you were to just put it in like a tiny little nutshell, what would you?
Sure. So 6 Seconds, who I originally trained with, call emotional intelligence being smarter with feelings. But I like to think of it actually as the science of age-old wisdom. In some sense, emotional intelligence has become a terminology that encompasses the ability to know what we're feeling, to recognize it, to make choices that in some sense align to what matters in our lives. And so for me, the whys were always emotionally intelligent. So in some sense, it's to intentionally cultivate. And whether or not you're cultivating it on purpose, we all have emotional intelligence.
We do.
So you are being or not being emotionally intelligent all your life because you're feeling things all the time.
And so what for you, I mean, we're going to be talking a little bit about these amazing cards that you have created. They are so beautiful. They're just a visual treat. And they really go into, it's so important for us to recognize that we need to expand our language around emotions. We kind of have these very vague umbrella terms for what it is we think we're feeling, and actually emotions and sensations are so nuanced, and there's so many different layers to them. And you've really gone quite deep into this card exploration of being able to give more vocabulary to what it is that we're feeling. Talk to me a little bit about what sparked that idea.
So a few things. So when we teach emotional intelligence, this foundation of emotional intelligence is what they call emotional literacy, which is what you're speaking to. And I often say that is learning your ABCs to be able to read. And so most people can name 10 to 20, certainly in English, emotions they're feeling, your average person. And in English, there are 4,000 to 5,000 words to describe emotions. And so this ability to actually find the words when we don't yet have the vocab easily accessible or we don't recognize them in ourselves. What I found is workshops, as soon as you had prompts and you could lay them out, people are very, they're able to recognize the feeling. So when you suddenly find something and it's actually disappointed and not just sad, you can now understand a different level of reflection or awareness around what's going on. And so, or if it's apprehensive, you suddenly recognize there's a fear and what is it you are being apprehensive about. And so that ability to name it when they see the words is there, but often people can't draw on the words. So we were always using card prompts that came from abroad when we were new in this, and this kind of was an inspired idea like 10, 12 years ago about the nature of emotion cards, in that I remember reading that nature, even looking at pictures of nature, has a calming system on the nervous system. And so I thought, what a way to literally be able to explore emotions while being held by nature. So even when it's a hard thing,
it's so gorgeous, like the rainbow that instantly elicits hope for sure.
So I did a lot of like sitting, but I mean here, and I've now only recently, when we there's just a picture on the back. So there's also a different exploration you can do, but there's like the volcano, which has got a lot in it, but it's still nature. There's something about nature in it that I encourage the idea to think of the internal exploration as hiking, as trail running, as it's hard, it takes courage.
Walking up that mountain.
Yeah, you're not going to do it in a, like, you can't just, you've got to actually put in some effort, and you have to be willing to step out. But if you can appreciate everything along the journey, then you take on a different attitude and perspective as you engage with exploring. Different weather patterns are allowed. There's beauty in the desert as much as there's beauty in the forest, and so you start to appreciate that within us we have an entire wilderness, and so I love that exploration art in that way.
I deeply resonate with that. A lot of my videos are about exploring emotions as we're kind of moving through these seasons, and recognizing that the more we see ourselves in nature, that we can kind of be a bit more forgiving. It's been pouring with rain. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
We kind of have this tendency to shame or segregate what it is that I'm feeling, as opposed to sort of just seeing it as it will pass. This too shall pass. This will move. This season isn't a lifetime. So I love what you've done here. And so I've got the Wayfinder course where we kind of go into our 5 core emotions, because I felt this is definitely where we want to be going in this emotional literacy. But I find that so many people are so disconnected, even just from our core emotions, from like the real base,
sad, glad,
mad, like that. Even that we've kind of lost tune with it, because we're overly distracting ourselves, we're numbing ourselves out, and so we connect to our 5 core, which then gives us,
I feel like they're doorways.
They are. That's exactly it. You're opening the door to anger, and you're being able to go into this really curious exploration of what else is there, because behind anger is often hurt, sadness, fear.
And often
not just this.
We're scared of the emotion, so I used anger for years to hide by fear of vulnerability and various other things, or loneliness, and so I kept losing my temper and appearing so angry. But actually, I recall hearing that angry was the only emotionally acceptable of the negative emotions. I remember thinking, anger is not emotionally acceptable, but in many ways.
But it gets attention. I mean, it gets a message.
But it is like men are expected not to be sad, or not to be like broken, or you can be angry, but all these other variety. And I now actually believe it's true that anger is accepted. Like, you're allowed to lose your temper. It's not.
More so than like breaking down and
crying. Yes, totally. And so hopefully it's changing. But those doorways into it, and then these offer like the nuances potentially in between, and to go deeper and begin to recognize more. Because actually, the more accurately we name what we're feeling, the more we have brain integration between left and right hemispheres. So you get that knitting happening, where the information is coming from the sensations on the right brain, the pictorial brain, and the linguistic, where we can actually label it. And now you've got information and how a communication happening. And so we're using more.
And then when that integration, I like with your sort of definition of that, when that integration occurs, what is like? I mean, I call that sweet spot alignment, right? It's where we're being able to connect. But how do you experience that?
So integration is actually, I'm using it in the sense of the brain term, in that it's we've got all we talk about the brain. You've got your left and right, but you've also got your lower, your mid, and your higher brain. And so the whole idea with integration is that each part is performing their role. And so the whole machine, if you want to, or the different parts of the ecosystem. Yes. I also was trying to step away from the machine. But all the different parts are performing their function well. And so each performs its well, you've got coherence. And so brain integration, in a sense, is a brain coherence, if you want, where all parts contribute towards actually performing their function.
And as we do that within ourselves, I feel like we're kind of having that effect in the collective as well at the same time. We're moving through our own individualization, and then
and we actually see that.
Yeah.
So toxic thoughts, or where we shut down a part of our brain, that's inaccessible. And in that inaccessibility, it affects us over time, but other people then tune into that around us. So the more we integrate, we say integration breeds integration. In an environment, if I can bring integration into myself, then actually I can now help regulate others or help integrate others. But often we're ignoring our mad and we're wanting you to be calm, but actually we're not calm, although we say we're calm because we're ignoring.
I'm fine. You're the problem.
What are you talking about that I'm not okay? I'm totally calm.
Listen to the sound of my voice. I'm so calm.
And then we want calm.
Projection.
But we haven't acknowledged that part of us. We haven't heard that message. So the fact that, as you said, the smoke alarm or the bells being rung here, we have tuned out that sound.
Yeah. No, and I mean, my whole intention with this course is being able to bring people back to that innate inner wisdom of checking in with ourselves. We shared in a previous podcast that we spoke about that ability to just kind of check in. What am I feeling? And what I absolutely love about these cards is it's a tool for that check-in. To just be able to. So talk me through how it works. How would you use it?
A few things. Firstly is that I'm no longer generally training. So to be able to send people in your direction if they're wanting to dive deeper, the cards are intended either for teens, adults. You can use they're too many for children unless you're going to go through and sort out and pick
more complex
10 or 20. You don't want to start with this level. There's 64 cards. There's 3 to 4 words a card. They're like 250 odd words here. Yeah. You don't want to do that. And even if you chose to have them in your home, you might want to halve the pack or at first. But the biggest thing, if you're using it for yourself, is to literally, one of the things I say, the take your emotional daily vitamin, which is a check-in, name 2 or 3 things you're feeling, either next to your bed. I like to say keep them in the toilet. You can do it automatically when you're not doing something else. In your family, have a breakfast table, and you can have. My son and I used to have press stick and actually stick ours up on the wall each day. So that's like a daily check-in, which is a lovely thing to do. They're fantastic if you for coaches or teams. Amazing if you're running a team. A simple way just to monitor. We all show up at work. Suddenly, if you've got an emotion, and again, people mustn't feel obligated to share something they're uncomfortable with, but you can check and share honest emotions.
And expand that discomfort level as well.
And so you can suddenly have an awareness, this is where my team is today or whatever. And so that's another way to use them in a team
That's
environment.
Amazing. I do a lot of videos on sort of how to incorporate work-life balance or alignment in the workplace. So how do you go to work and you're feeling all of these feelings from home, and then you kind of have to put on your very neutral, like everything's professional, numbness, and it does. It affects performance, or affects our ability, our decision making. So especially for high functioning CEOs, execs that are needing to make really intense decisions, we have to take into consideration what's the undercurrent, what we actually feel.
And even like I know some people have used chalkboards and you have the cards next to it. The advantage also is if you are in a, like say you don't have a workplace that will tolerate it, and you choose to
keep it in your desk.
well, also you might have checked that this is overwhelmed, you're looking spiky, and there's another one here like feeling miserable perhaps, or maybe you're just exhausted, and then you might choose, here's a card for you, it's joyful, or focused, and you might choose to just sit and take a moment, a pause to really stare at the nature, and that's where you can flip it over to no words and just appreciate
the visual of that.
The visual.
I mean, like I can taste the nectar on this. Like this, the sweetness, being able to take the sweetness of life. I love that.
And so that's also the ability to go, I'd like to be feeling this, or I intend to approach it with, there is curiosity somewhere, or here's patient and open-hearted.
Now, one of the ways that I definitely use these cards is in process that we do called state creation. So when we tend to have these default states that we find ourselves in our professional work relationship, and we want to get a little bit more playful and colorful with what it is we want to have access to. If you're going to a particular event, you want to wear a particular outfit. So we can also get really creative with the states of being that we allow ourselves access to. And I find from the moment I saw these cards, I was like, literally, piece together a few, being able to draw from what that actually feels like, how to build that feeling in the body so that you can gain more and more access to it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So this is something I'm going to be sharing as an accompaniment to my Wayfinder course. So you can check out all the links below. And if you want a pack of these, how would we order it through?
You order them through natureofelmotions.com, and they are available locally in South Africa. If you want shipping, don't know if it's worth it. I haven't shipped them internationally. Otherwise, there is an online set, but I know certainly some of the coaches they've said their clients now, the tactile experience of having them, and also the reality of some people working with things find it just like leapfrogs. What would take like much longer to find when you've got a whole lot of prompts, it helps you face things at a different level and bring up things in a way that's very manageable, so much swifter.
Yeah, absolutely. I can imagine taking, like, for example, this card, patient, and being able to see how, because a lot of times we feel quite confronted by certain emotions, like, or joyful, or even happiness, like it feels uncomfortable, but being able to almost familiarize yourself just through working with the cards of, this little toucan, he's there, he's waiting, he's not in any rush.
Yeah.
Being able to connect through the metaphor of nature with the emotion. I absolutely love that. Yeah. So thank you so much for being here with us today, and this incredible offering that you've put out into the world. I'm definitely very excited to work with them more.
Fantastic.
So thank you so much, Candice Dick.
Thank you. Such a pleasure being here.
Have a wonderful
Enjoy your emotional adventuring.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and we'll chat soon.